Today, more bad news for Bitcoin after yesterday's collapse and subsequent rebound. The IRS is calling for stricter crypto compliance. Plus, America's most popular truck is now electric. We dive into the unveiling of the Ford F-150 Lightning. And finally, it's the end of an era as Microsoft pulls the plug on Internet Explorer. I'm Jordan Smith, and this is CNBC After Hours. Stocks finished higher to break a three-day losing streak, but despite closing in the green today, the Dow and S&P 500 are still on track to post weekly losses. Bitcoin was stable today, even in the face of news that the Treasury Department wants crypto investors to be more compliant with the IRS. This comes just one day after Bitcoin and Ether tumbled in a plunge so massive it trimmed nearly $1 trillion off the value of the entire cryptocurrency market. Bitcoin fell as low as $30,000 before bouncing up to the $40,000 range. And Kate Rooney has some new data showing that it was the bigger investors, or so-called whales, who did most of the buying at the lows.
Headlines out of the Treasury Department taking a little bit of wind out of Bitcoin's recovery today. The department says it will require transfers of $10,000 or more to be reported to the IRS and describes crypto as a, quote, significant detection problem when it comes to taxes. This is part of President Biden's proposal to crack down on tax evasion, and it might mean a bigger tax bill for some of those wealthier Bitcoin buyers. We've got some new data from blockchain firm Chainalysis showing what these so-called whales have been up to lately. In the past 2 days, they swooped in to buy the dip as Bitcoin fell to around $30,000. Investors who hold at least 1,000 Bitcoin had been selling, or at least not buying up any new Bitcoin lately. Chainalysis described it as becoming more cautious. They sold a cumulative 51,000 Bitcoin over the past 2 weeks. If you flash forward to Tuesday and Wednesday, they came in to buy 34,000 Bitcoin, which today is worth about $1.4 billion, where Bitcoin's trading around $40,000. Chainalysis compared that to March of last year, when Bitcoin sold off sharply with the broader markets. The response back then was not nearly as strong, suggesting some of those bigger investors may see a little bit more room to run here, and not to mention there's likely a lot more whales in the market this time around. The data also suggests that selling yesterday appears to be driven more by retail buyers on exchanges. So these tend to be investors who already have accounts open and trade at places like Coinbase. So yesterday, Bitcoin at one point had lost about a third of its value. Bitcoin's known for being extremely volatile, but for the past month or so, it really has been pretty steady around the $55,000 mark. So not as crazy up and down as we've seen in previous years. So some newer Bitcoin investors might be surprised by how dramatically it fell yesterday. It has recovered almost all of those losses, but still is not anywhere near that high of around 60,000 we saw just a few weeks ago. So I think this did catch some investors by surprise. There are other investors who see this as a long-term thesis who are saying, if you blinked yesterday and didn't watch the markets, you would have missed these swings. And that's why it's important to take a long-term stance on this versus just watching some of those crazy volatile swings.
Okay, let's get to our sound check. Here's a roundup of the day's biggest action and what the top newsmakers and business leaders had to say on CNBC's airwaves.
We're one of the very few companies with an official claim in Europe stating that if you drink 3 glasses of oat milk every day, you either maintain or lower your cholesterol. Now that is scientifically proven and backed up, and that is official claim that is related to Oatly only, So is it a better milk for you? Yes, it is. And that's also part of why we're so successful.
When you look back on 2020, a lot of those new pets were taken by millennials and Gen Zers. And guess what? Those millennials and Gen Zers spent a lot more on their pets. So that's a tailwind on spend per pet. So not only do you have 11 million new pets in 2020, but you have a tailwind on spend per pet, which is going to propel the category.
I think it's here to stay. Cryptocurrency is not going away. Just like gold is not going away. So yes, it had its ups and downs, and yesterday was not a good day for it, but that's true of anything that is relatively new. And I don't think you're going to see anything like crypto going away and disappearing. It's here, and it's here because people in the market want something other than just the traditional currencies that we've had.
We have 20,000 orders already, 12 hours after the reveal, so the response has been great.
That point that Ford CEO Jim Farley made about the impressive demand he's seeing for the new F-150 Lightning speaks to just how essential electric vehicles are to the future of the car business. Ford shares popped higher today after last night's unveiling event, showing investors have high hopes for the electric version of the most popular truck in the country. But the EV truck space is already a little crowded. There's the electric Hummer SUV from General Motors and Tesla's futuristic Cybertruck. Elon Musk himself seemed to welcome the competition in a tweet. So, can the iconic F-150 compete? Mike Wayland explains.
Ford last night unveiled their F-150 Lightning pickup. It is their first ever all-electric pickup, and it's expected to be one of the first kind of mainstream pickups to really hit the market in the middle of next year. The vehicle is extremely important to Ford. The F-Series, which includes the F-150 and some of its bigger siblings, are the profit engine for the company. I mean, they are massive profits, and Ford dominates the segment. With the EV coming up and different competitors, they're trying to safeguard those profits with the Lightning. I got to ride in the vehicle. I didn't get to drive it like President Joe Biden did, so I wasn't able to floor it 0 to 80 in 3.5 seconds, but I did get to ride in the vehicle on a test course. I got to do it on an off-road course, and I can tell you, it gets up and goes. We hit over 100 miles per hour, if not right around 100 miles per hour on the test track, and it's quick. Just like all the other AVs, it's almost instantaneous torque, and that's going to be kind of one of the differentiating factors for a lot of the truck buyers who want performance. The handling is absolutely crazy because of the weight of the battery. The truck sticks to the ground. Ford's strategy is a little bit different than Tesla or General Motors. Ford is electrifying their most iconic nameplates, they call them, and that includes the Mustang Mach-E, which is a crossover variant of the Mustang nameplate, as well as the Transit van, which is very important to commercial customers. And then obviously right behind me is the F-150. And the reason I actually have that photo up is because it's a truck. It's actually a truck. It looks like a truck, it functions like a truck, and it just has some nice little secrets in it that make it an EV, and obviously it doesn't have an engine. This is a little bit different than Tesla and the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck is the Cybertruck. It is not necessarily a traditional work truck. It's also not a $111,000 GMC Hummer EV. The popularity of the F-150 kind of speaks to the profits for Ford. It has been the best-selling vehicle for more than 3 decades, and it's been the best-selling truck for more than 4 decades. So it is literally the best-selling vehicle in the country, and that's kind of why it is so important to Ford. And electrifying it is just trying to kind of safeguard it from that EV revolution and Tesla and a bunch of startups kind of coming into the market.
Before we go, let's get to our numbers round. We'll start off with 46. 46% of millennials who bought a house during the COVID-19 pandemic are already over budget on renovations, according to a new survey from home services company Angie. That's the new name of Angie's List. The survey provides insight into the experience of buying a house in this red-hot market. More than 40% of respondents spent more than 6 months searching for a property, and 66% put in at least 4 offers before finally winning a bid. And 33% paid over the asking price, while 35% spent more than they originally wanted to on the purchase. Next, 25. Microsoft is pulling the plug on Internet Explorer more than 25 years after it launched. It was the browser of choice for more than a decade, and a major part of the government's antitrust case against Microsoft in 1998. Internet Explorer began losing ground to alternatives like Google's Chrome in the early 2000s. As of last month, Internet Explorer accounted for less than 2% of the global market for desktop computers, while Chrome had a 65% share. And finally, 27. Virgin Galactic stock was down 27% for 2021 before the start of today's trading session, but shares soared higher today after the company announced its next space flight will take place this Saturday. The company said the upcoming flight is a positive sign for its testing schedule, which it says is on pace to allow commercial passenger flights to space by early 2022. Virgin Galactic is fending off increased competition from Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, which recently announced plans for the first crewed flight of its own space tourism rocket on July 20th. Well, get all the latest on the details in the 21st century space race by going to CNBC.com and downloading the CNBC app. Well, that's it for After Hours, but we'll be back here in our home office every Tuesday and Thursday, so be sure to catch us then.